Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Please, everyone chant. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Keep juggle. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram,
Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Haribo, Haribo,
Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari
Hari.
Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. Dear devotees, welcome to Bhaktivedanta Manor. Thank you for being here. Can we start off by putting our hands in the air and welcoming Maharaj very warmly with 3 loud Hari Bols. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hare Krishna. We're very fortunate this evening. It is the month of Karthik. It is Bhaktivedanta Manor. It is this august assembly of all the Vaishnavas present here, and we have with us His Holiness Sivarama Swami Maharaj. Hare Krishna. We also have in town His Holiness Bhakti Purushottam Swami, and traveling with him we have Maharaj, who's sitting here, His Holiness Bhakti Vijay Bhagavat Swami, visiting from Mayapur. So can we please welcome Maharaj with 3 loud Hari Bols as well. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! So they're here for a couple of weeks. They'll be traveling the UK. So very fortunate for Bhaktivedanta Manor being placed the way it is. So this is a sadhu Sanga gathering. Sadhus, all the sadhus have assembled. It is the month of Karthik where all spiritual activities are multiplied 1,000 times. Just imagine hearing Maharaj 1,000 times. We welcome Maharaj very warmly to Bhaktivedanta Manor, and we also welcome all those devotees we haven't seen, devotees who are traveling with him. Some of you may remember Anand Chaitanya Prabhu. He's back. Thank you very much. Anand Prabhu, welcome to Bhaktivedanta Manor. Myself introducing these devotees is like a candle trying to introduce the sun, so cannot do justice. But Bhaktivedanta Manor is very privileged. Maharaj is here. Maharaj has a long relationship with Bhaktivedanta Manor. A lot of the pioneering activities, the pioneering days, His Holiness Sivarama Swami looked after Bhaktivedanta Manor. And today, for us to welcome Maharaj here, it's a great fortune. Maharaj is a sannyasi, as many of you know, devotees watching online, an initiating guru. Maharaj is an author, and he's a YouTube and social media star, if that's the right term to use. But we've been inspired by Maharaj, all those, the videos and the lectures that are available. So thank you very much. Today we will ask Maharaj to speak about the month of Karthik and about our devotional lives. Using the month of Karthik like a bouncing board to enhance our devotional attachment to Krishna, and then how to carry that forward as well. So thank you very much, Maharaj, for coming. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you for coming. Thank you for this invitation. You've already been chanting. I went to take darshan, see Radha Gokulnanda. Although, as I told my optometrist some hours earlier, I can't see them very clearly at this distance. But ultimately, we see as well as we are Krishna conscious. And Well, before we start, let's offer our respectful obeisances to Srila Prabhupada and their lordships. And then we'll try and pursue this topic. I thought it was a little obscure, but we'll see. And perhaps if you have some questions that can sort of highlight what devotees here would like to hear about. And then I'll be asking you questions, so everyone please make it participatory as opposed to just me being an internet star. Om Jnanatimrandasya Jnananjana Stalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Shri Gaura Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namo Shripadaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatadesha Tarini. Usually I'd try to participate in Damodar Ashtaka every either morning or evening, depending on when it's happening. But sometimes I can't. Just like last night, as usual, our flight was a couple of hours late, and anyway, we didn't get in until way past Damodar Ashtaka time, and then there were so many other things to do. Interestingly, I was listening to one recording where Srila Prabhupada points out that actually his family deities were Radha Damodar, and Radha Damodar are the, you could say, presiding deities of this month of Karthika. And we, so many wonderful pastimes are taking place during this month. And as we heard earlier, you make additional spiritual advancement, really multiplied. Krishna gives us a special deal. It's a discount. Just like when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Varanasi, and the place was just full of Mayavadis. And after being there for some time, he really didn't get much of a reception. He was living at the house of Tapa Mishra, Chandrasekhar, and aside from them and another few Vaishnavas, there was no, in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's words, there was no one to actually purchase his devotional goods. So he said, I came here to sell my spiritual wares, which means that really he was giving love of Krishna, and all he really wanted was people to be willing to take it, which means that they would accept with faith the principle of chanting Hare Krishna and Krishna's supremacy over all other presiding deities. And but it was a no-go. Mayavadis were just, everything is Brahman, and Brahman is the supreme. So Lord Chaitanya said, well, if I brought everything here and it was a heavy load, now if I have to go back again to, who came from Jagannath Puri, so I have to go back again to Puri carrying the same thing I came here to sell, that's going to be like a real inconvenience. So, all right, I will give it for half the price. So Lord Chaitanya was willing to there also give a discount. All right, anyone who comes. And so it seems that all of Prakashananda Saraswati, 60,000 followers, they all became Vaishnavas. They all accepted the supremacy of Krishna and the process of Harinam is actually the real way to attain not just liberation, but beyond liberation, to attain love of God. And it's very, very interesting. There's a passage in which one of Prakashananda's disciples is speaking on behalf of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he expresses what actually is sort of the dogmatic basis of often religions, but the followers of religions, that they follow something that maybe they don't really understand, or worse yet, that they don't really believe, but I was born a such and such, it's on my birth certificate, although they probably don't do that anymore, put your religion or your faith down on a piece of paper. And but really I have no faith. So this follower was also saying to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, well, actually Shankaracharya's teachings don't make any sense to us, and we didn't really believe in them, but you know, this is what we joined. We joined this tradition, we gave our lives, we've been austere brahmacharis and sannyasis all our lives. So, yeah, we just continued on. So quite interesting how people can just dedicate their whole life and go on with something that they don't know just because, you know, my parents forced me into it, or because it's the cultural norm, or some other type of, or because I don't know anything better. But our Gaudiya line, and this is actually what the basis of our Krishna consciousness is, even when we are observing the month of Karthik, and it was during this month of Karthik actually that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrived in Vrindavan, when he came to visit Vrindavan. But interestingly, at least I have not read, or if I've read, I don't remember, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu participating, or devotees at that time participating in this type of, isn't it? There's, so what Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavad, Chaitanya Charita, there's so many biographies of Lord Chaitanya, some of them of a better quality than others. But what we're doing doesn't seem to be mentioned there, which doesn't mean that it didn't happen, it just didn't get a mention. And but still, the tradition you will find in Padma Purana, so we're going back to the Puranic age. It's also mentioned in other Puranas, the benefits of following the month of Karthik, the type of worship that one should do. There are pastimes and stories of the actual potency of this Karthik month, and usually that's what Puranas do. They just like start giving very, very similar stories, very similar pastimes. Sometimes it's a fallen Brahmin who becomes a Rakshasa, and he becomes liberated by hearing the Bhagavatam, chanting Hare Krishna, the holy name of the Lord, or eating some prasadam. Of course, there's other versions. they're quite similar because karma is similar. The general divisions of karma, as Prabhupada would say, there's 3 modes of material nature. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 9 is 81. But ultimately, there's only so many variations of the story of people's lives, and so we all suffer from the same COVID. We've got common karma. We all suffer from same cold, the flu, the cold. We're in the same country. We suffer from the same political incompetence and so many other things going on. We have common things that are common and then things that are also different. But anyway, still Puranic gets interpreted in so many ways according to different sampradayas, some which are more authentic than others. But Gaudiya Sampradaya, as always, is seeing everything through the eyes and teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that's really extremely important in our line and devotion. It's also quite important in terms of the Indian community when they're coming to and joining Krishna consciousness, because unless they happen to be Bengalis, it's rare that they're coming from a Gaudiya background, but they may be coming from Pushti Marg or so many other different faiths or different approaches to first Hinduism, then Vaishnavism, and generally it bypasses Lord Chaitanya, which is a real problem, a real mistake, because really attaining the perfection of worshipping Krishna in this age, or for that matter any age, is difficult to virtually impossible for especially the average us, the average Kali Yuga resident. We don't have what it takes to actually follow the path of bhakti, well, in the way that, for instance, Gop Kumar followed it in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Very austere, celibate, learned, continuing on, sticking to the end. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu makes things katanchara smrite yasmin sukaram dukaram bhavet vishmita viparatat syat Sri Chaitanya namami tvam. So Chaitanya Charitamrita says that things that are normally very easy become virtually impossible without Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. And things that are very difficult become very easily done if someone actually takes shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya. Just today I was listening to a conversation and Srila Prabhupada was making this point. In this life, we want to finish in this life. That is our plan. So one life, that's a relatively short period of time, and depending also on when we really started to seriously apply Krishna consciousness. So considering where we want to go, this morning we were having a discussion. This is also quite characteristic of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is that when he's talking to Vaishnavas, whether it's the Tattvavadis or he's talking to Mayavadis, or he's talking, he asks him when he's talking to Ramananda Roy, what is the sadhya and what is the sadhan? Okay, I told you I was going to ask questions. So, sadhya, who knows what sadhya means? So you have to speak loud. Go ahead, you had your hand up. Goal. Goal. And sadhan, you must know what sadhan means. Huh? Process, yes. So, sadhya and sadhan. All right, here we're talking about month of Karthik. So, what is the sadhya? What is the goal of this month of Karthik? Someone? You can just call it out as long as it's real loud. Huh? What kind of pure devotion? Huh? What kind of pure devotion? Pure devotion to Krishna? Someone? What kind of pure devotion? And what kind of pure devotion to Krishna? I mean, devotion means Krishna, but what kind of pure devotion to Krishna do we want? What is our goal? Why are we doing this Damodarastakam? Why are we offering these lamps? Why are we chanting Damodarastaka? Who's taken some special vrata, some vow? No one. No, you must have. Put your hand up. Who's taken vows? Yeah, lots of people. Lots of people. What was the purpose? Huh? Yeah, but you're just repeating what they said. What kind of devotional service? Huh? Okay, we're getting somewhere. Like the Brajbasis. Like which Brajbasis? Like the Gopis. Mother Yashoda. Do you want to be Mother Yashoda's helper? Okay, here's someone who wants to be Mother Yashoda's helper. If you want to be Mother Yashoda's helper, what is your sadhana? Huh? No, that's not sadhana. What is the sadhana? What is the practice to become a helper of Mother Yashoda? Learning, hearing? No. That's of course there. That's a general aspect which is always there. Krishna Anushidanam, that we're trying to please Krishna. But specifically, what is the specific characteristic of someone who wants to become a helper of Mother Yashoda? Which Brajbasis? Which other gopis? You're following in the footsteps of Mother Yashoda. All right, you're hearing about Mother Yashoda, but that's not the sadhana. Hearing contributes to that, but what's the specific characteristic? No, now you're just repeating. We're on the right track here. If you want to become an assistant of Mother Yashoda, then you have to follow an eternal associate who is the assistant of Mother Yashoda. That is the specific characteristic of sadhana that you're not doing at the present time. Do you know someone? Huh? Anywhere. So you're going to have to find somebody. You're going to have to find some eternal servant that you can follow. But, huh? No, his primary goal is Mother Yashoda, not Srimati Radharani. So that's all right, but then you have to have a follower. You have to please a follower of Mother Yashoda. So this becomes our real sadhana, or the aspect of our sadhana is that we then hear about those persons and so on. But what Srila Prabhupada and our Gaudiya line emphasize, we see, for instance, at the end of every chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So what does it say? Rupa Raghunatha Pade Jara Ash. So asking for the mercy and blessings of Rupa Raghunath. And even Narottam Das Thakur is singing very similar. Rupa Raghunatha Pade Hoibe Akuti Kabe Habase Bhaja Jugala Piriti. So there he says, if you want to understand Jugala Piriti, if you want to understand Radha and Krishna, then you have to take shelter of Rupa and Raghunath. In any case, my point is that when you're doing something, you have to know why it is that you're doing it. What is your particular goal? When you take a vrata, you have a goal for your vrata, and then obviously what is going to be the process. So Lord Chaitanya is emphasizing these two things all the time, is know where you are going. You all came here. You all came here from somewhere. And coming here was a very specific effort. You did not just, okay, let's go to the manor. Okay, we're going to go to the manor. How are we going to go to the manor? Well, we're coming to Watford. Great, but Watford's a relatively big place. So you need to go more than just Watford. Well, actually, we're going to Letchmore Heath. Okay, Letchmore Heath, but there's still quite a few places in Letchmore Heath. Yes, we're going to go into the area of Bhaktivedanta Manor. Okay, that's fine. But more than Bhaktivedanta Manor, we're coming to the Haveli, and we're coming to the big hall of the... It gets more and more specific. Ultimately, to get here and to be sitting here, you have to be very specific as to where you are going. So when it's offering a lamp to Yashoda Damodar, although we sing Jai Radha Damodar, we're offering to Yashoda Damodar, so that needs to be clear what we're doing. And we're following the month of Karthik, and what we're doing actually in Krishna consciousness. The goal needs to be very specific, especially for devotees who have been practicing Krishna consciousness for a considerable length of time, because they're getting closer. In principle, they should be getting closer to the goal. So there's only so long you can be driving towards Watford, and at a certain point, it's not enough to be driving to Watford, because you are in Watford. So then you've got to start making some other directions. So just like that, Nitya Krishna Das, we are eternal servants of Krishna. Now, our Prabhu has said that being Krishna Das becomes more specific. I want to become a Yashoda Dasi. So, and how that transpires, how that takes place, you can only know by carefully reading Srila Prabhupada's books. Very careful reading them. And all of you here are of one sort of profession or another, and in order to come to that profession, give me a quick number. How many books did you read over the past 15, 18, 20 years of study to get to your profession? Hundreds? I mean, I know, in between grade school and high school and university, hundreds. So we've read hundreds of books. Here, there's only 4. There's only 4 books. That's not much, considering that we're doing hundreds of books just in order to actually maintain ourselves in this world for 70, 80 years, to feed ourselves and to have a roof over our heads. That's a lot of work. So, but here Srila Prabhupada is saying, just read these 4 books. So to read and study these 4 books in order to understand where we're going and how we're going to get there. But the books are very, very mysterious. They speak in different ways to different people. It's the same books for the beginner students. The books don't change. It's very, very extraordinary. You've got the same Bhagavad Gita, same Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nectar of Devotion. So it's quite a Of course, it's really in one sense the same for other religions. And but that's the mystique of Krishna consciousness and these extraordinary teachings is that whether you walk in the door or you're going out the door, you're reading the same literature. And it keeps saying more and more and more, the more and more that we actually listen to it and study it. So, are we doing something extraordinary for the month of Karthik? We do some things. We offer lamp. We've done take some vow. Some devotees read the pastimes of Mother Jashoda binding Lord Krishna. It's such a very wonderful thing. Even just this, if you who thinks about that pastime during the month, like thinks about different aspects of it. Yeah, some devotees. That's called meditation. Is that we're actually meant to be, thinking. I mean, if you think of the other day, I was discussing this one aspect, just this concept of tying Krishna, which our acharyas say now, Krishna has no outside, and Krishna has no inside. So he's not limited, and he's beyond being unlimited. Because there's no question of even limits where he's concerned. So this whole idea of tying Krishna, of course we know what these 2 finger widths mean from tying the end, but this idea that you can tie God, he's inconceivable. There's no, everything that exists is inside of him. So how can you tie somebody when you're inside them? I mean, we're inside Krishna. Of course, we're also seeing Krishna on the outside. So these things are good intellectual exercises that siddhanta bolya chittena karolas. They really sharpen our intelligence and make us contemplate and think and appreciate the real greatness and the extraordinary things that take place here. And what love of Krishna can actually do. That you can actually tie down someone who has no exterior just with love, with prema. Of course, love like Mother Jashoda is really extraordinary. And in Bhagavatam, the pastime comes to an end where Nanda Maharaj, who's actually went away for the day to celebrate Diwali, because it's taking place on the Diwali day, this whole Leela. And then they came back, and then they got the news that, these 2 trees almost fell on Krishna, and he's still sitting beside them, tied to a mortar. And of course, when Nanda Maharaj heard that his wife had actually put Krishna in such a dangerous position, he was like really, really upset. But of course, freeing Krishna was the priority. So the point was that only Nanda Maharaj could actually free Krishna. Only Mother Yashoda can tie him, and only Nanda Maharaj could free them because of the measure of their love. So this prema is an extraordinary thing, that God is purchased by love. And love of the Brijbasis, as we heard, is something extraordinary. What is the extraordinary quality of the love of the Brijbasis? Give me one word. Huh? No. No. Huh? No. The Vaikuntha Vasis are unconditional. Yes. Who said? Yes, it's spontaneous. In other words, it's just their nature. Rag Atmika. It's their Atma. The nature of their whole existence is rag, is spontaneous love. They love Krishna, and spontaneous means they love Krishna for who he is, and not because he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It doesn't really come into the picture whatsoever. And it's such a extraordinary, intense love. The love is so intense that it ties Krishna down. Now we all know that prema pumarto mahan. This is actually our goal, is to acquire prema. And then that prema needs to get specific at some point. One point it can be general, and then it will become specific. But that's really, considering where we're coming from, this is a very extraordinary goal. We're not shooting for, something moderate. We're, literally speaking, shooting for the stars. So we're shooting for the highest thing that exists in terms of spiritual revelation and spiritual attainment. It's higher than anything that exists in Vaikuntha. It's beyond the love of Hanuman for Lord Ramachandra. It's beyond Arjuna's love for Krishna in Dwarka. So this, it's like a real, we come here, we just sort of accept it. But when you come to realize and read about just what is actually required in order to come to this stage of love of God, then we realize that we have actually a lot of work to do, and you need to take it seriously. So it isn't a casual attainment, even though Chaitanya Mahaprabhu really Krishna Prema Pradayate, he makes it relatively easy. But if you read Nectar of Devotion, and Rupa Goswami gave us Nectar of Devotion, as we're reading Rupa Raghunath Pade Hoibe Akuti. All right, we have to, this is our line of Rupa Raghunath. We follow Rupa Raghunath Goswamis. That means that devotees need to be reading the teachings and following the practical example of Rupa and Raghunath Goswami. Who's read books of Rupa Goswami? Okay, well, not many. Nectar of Devotion is by Rupa Goswami. Who's read books by Raghunath Das Goswami? Some, not many. But Rupa Raghunatha Pade Hoibe Akuti. Rupa Raghunatha, this is every line of Chaitanya Charitamrita, that we are followers of Rupa Raghunath. So when we talk about becoming followers of the Brajbasis, Rupa and Raghunath are personalities that we know about both in terms of their sadhaka roop, or their service as practitioners, and also we read about them in the perfectional stage. Even Rupa Goswami writes about himself in the third person as Rupa Manjari, and Raghunath Das Goswami also writes about himself as a same thing, maidservant of Srimati Radharani, as well as Rupa Goswami. And there's a lot in our Gaudiya literature to actually know how to follow. Because what is the essence of all advice? Krishneti asya giritam manasa adriyeta dikshesti chit pranbas saditam shushushaya bhajana vigiramananya madhya ninda sundya. And then we continue. And it says that we follow the resident of Vrindavan. Same thing. We're meant to become followers. But who are the followers? You can only follow someone that you know. So we have to get to know by hearing. And Rupa Raghunath Pade Hoibe Akuti. These are the ones that Kaviraj Goswami, Narottam Das Thakur, Srila Prabhupada recommends for us to study because they are accessible. That's why I was asking, where do you have examples of a follower of Mother Yashoda, and what does she do? And where is her sadhaka root here in the material world? So we do know one, and that was, what's his name, Babaji? During Bhakti Santa Saraswati Thakur's time, we've got that little book about him. Vamsidas Babaji. So that he was actually in this mood of maternal love. But we know about him here, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's followers used to go to him because their Guru Maharaj certified that he was actually a fully realized, perfected soul. But still, we don't know anything about his activities there in the spiritual world. But anyway, this is the process. So whatever you do when you're talking about Karthik, then you have to know the sadhya and you have to know the sadhana. Moreover, if we're carrying Karthik over and the mood of Karthik into the rest of the year and into the years beyond, then we always have to be very clear, where are we going, and do I really know how to get there? And then, am I doing what it takes to get there? So, for instance, we chant Hare Krishna. And when someone first comes here to Bhaktivedanta Manor, then, chant one round or come and chant with us in the temple room. So it's the same activity, it's the same chanting Hare Krishna, but it's not the same. You can't be chanting Hare Krishna in the way that you chanted on your first day coming to the temple as when you're here after 30 years. So we use the same expression, chant Hare Krishna, we call it the same Maha Mantra, but the quality or the sadhana of our chanting of the same thing continues to get deeper and deeper and deeper. And you know the different stages of chanting. So there can be the offensive stage, then there can be the clearing stage and the pure stage, and hopefully then there's the stage where we chant with love. So these are different steps, and when you take Sve Sve Adhikara Ye Nishta, that when you go on a step, so you should know where you want to go, for instance, on a staircase, but actually your attainment is achieved by making smaller goals as well as you go along. And usually the goal that you target for is the next goal. So when you're on one step, then the goal is the next step. Old people know what I'm talking about. You really pay attention to where you're walking. Young people just fly upstairs. They don't even think about it. They just think about where they're going. But otherwise, it's always like that. You're thinking about, all right, now, do I chant with Namabhas or do I chant Namaparad? And if you're chanting Namaparad, then how am I going to get rid of all of these offenses? and how am I going to come to the clearing stage, and even in that clearing stages there may be other divisions, and how do I go through those divisions. It's a very conscientious thing. It can't be a slogan. It can't be like the Mayavadis who say, well, we really don't believe in it, but we just do it because, well, I mean, that's our religion. So, of course, we believe in it, but we're just sort of doing it mechanically in the same way that we've always done, but you don't get anywhere if if you keep doing the same things you did when you were in nursery school and you're expecting to get through university like that. It doesn't work. You have to keep doing other things. Your learning has to be extremely progressive. And the interesting thing is that we have a lot of experience with this because we knew where we wanted to go. That we wanted to get from, when we were in grade school, we wanted to get into high school. We wanted to be like the big boys and big girls. And when we were in high school, then we're shooting from whatever grade you did. For me, I went from grade 8 to grade 11. That was high school. And elementary was 1 to 7, and then university beyond that. So you're always going from one grade to the next, and with this idea that I'm also going to university. And of course, by the time you get to university, you got to figure out actually what discipline it is that you really want to be practicing. So you're always setting goals, and you're always moving forward, always exercising your intelligence, always applying a phenomenal of time and energy into what it takes for us to get there. And then either you get there well, or you get there just sort of barely, or you don't make it. Some people don't make it because they don't apply themselves. So we're already doing this. It's actually been our lives, and once you got your job, then unless you happen to be self-employed and you own the business, then you're always shooting how to go higher and higher and higher in whatever it is, the corporation, or how ultimately we become the CEO. But here in Krishna consciousness, it's the same in a spiritual sense, that we're shooting for the stars, but in between getting to the stars, we got to get to the moon, and then we got to get to other progressive places like that, and keep on climbing. And for that, then yes, the mood of Karthik needs to just keep on, keep going forward, and then it needs to become more proactive, and more proactive. We're at around 8 o'clock, so I'm going to stop in a few minutes for questions, and we've got the mic that goes, yeah, so we have microphones. And then if you have any questions that can sort of take us forward, or that will contribute to at least what I'm trying to explain, is that Krishna consciousness is serious, and it's a process of getting out of our comfort zones and continually moving on to another. In the Bhagavad Gita, what is the symptom of the mode of goodness? Sattvam sanjayate jnanam. So mode of goodness means jnana. It means knowledge. And what does knowledge do? Knowledge gives sukham. It makes you happy. And what happens when you become happy? Then Krishna says the trap is that you don't progress. You become satisfied. Well, I'm a devotee. I'm well respected. I do my sadhana nicely. Life is good because I'm living a dharmic life. Krishna's giving me everything that I need. And although I see you know, a lot of other people go through difficulties, but Krishna's been kind, so it's not so bad. So when you start thinking that it's not so bad being in prison, then you got a problem. So no matter, and that's what Krishna says, is the risk of this mode of goodness, is that ultimately Krishna consciousness means coming to the mode of goodness, because it's only in goodness that you can actually practice Krishna consciousness properly. But if we become very complacent and we become attached to the goodness rather than to the constant practice of Krishna consciousness, then we can stagnate. So this idea of getting out of our comfort zone and moving always forward and never being satisfied. And the real beautiful example of that, which I mention often, is that of Gop Kumar. And if you haven't read, I asked the last time, but that was a year ago, who read Brihad Bhagavatamrita? We have, yeah, so quite a few people. Very, very important book, extraordinarily beautifully written, and quite extraordinary in that the author is also the commentator. So Sanatana Goswami wrote it, and he also commented on it. So it's a real beautiful piece of work. And there we see that Gop Kumar, who's a pure devotee, we could almost say practically from birth, but he goes from one realm to another realm. He's associating with Krishna's different incarnations. They're asking them to stay there. He goes to Vaikuntha, and Lord Narayan speaks such extraordinary, sweet things, and he sees so many wonders taking place over there. But he knows his goal. How does he know his goal? Who's second initiated here? Not so many. So he knows his goal. When you're chanting Gayatri mantra, you know your goal. He chanted his Diksha mantra, and his Diksha mantra was Krishnaya Govindaya Gopijana Balabha, and he was Gopal. His goal was to attain the association of Gopal. And he was very clear about that. And until he got that, he wasn't willing to compromise. Even when Lord Narayan took the form of Gopal and Lakshmi Devi took the form of Radharani, but it just wasn't quite the same. It's not the same when Narayan takes the form of Krishna or when Krishna shows his original form, because he's still only Narayan. He's still lacking certain attributes. So he just keeps going. He says, no, this is, for some time he tries to convince himself rationally, you finally attained your goal, this is what you want. But after a while he says, no, I can't, this is not what I want. I want my Gopal. And unless I get my Gopal, I'm not going to stop. So that's why it's very important for us to know, where are we going? And of course that's the role of the spiritual master, to guide the disciple from a very general to becoming a more and more specific direction of Krishna consciousness. Let me take this off, because this one has marigolds, and me and marigolds don't get along. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the floor is yours. Please, if I can be of any help, or we can have any conversation, discussion, interaction, and maybe you can call the people. Yeah, you select the devotees who should ask the question. Okay, here we have, and the devotees who ask the question, stand up so others can just see you. Sir.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Firstly, thank you so much for taking the time to
Closer.
Okay? Hare Krishna.
Yeah, it works. You just need to, that's what the microphone's for. You talk into it.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah, see?
So it seemed you were alluding to that we should practice Radhatmika Bhakti. We should be following.
We don't practice Ragatmika Bhakti. We just need to know what the process of the direction of devotional. So Ragatmika Bhakti is the perfectional stage, and that's what Krishna's associates practice.
Then, so you we were talking about following a eternal resident, and I don't know if this is correct or not, but if our goal is to be in the spiritual world, say with Mahaprabhu, is our sadhana then the same as our, if we're following Mahaprabhu and doing Sankirtan, is that not enough to go to associate with him? If that's what we're practicing here and learning about Mahaprabhu from Srila Prabhupada, chanting, associating with devotees.
You're talking about if you want to become an associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu?
Yeah.
The process is the same. You have to become Dasa Das Anudas. So, but there's certainly lots of dasas of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that we hear about and read about in Chaitanya Charitamrita and other books. So there's a lot to read about them, and there some of the nature of the devotion of some may be more attractive than others. So Prabhupada says, the followers of Advaitacharya, the followers of Lord Nityananda, it's sort of a different type of relationship. And there are other devotees, and there's certainly a lot to hear and read about those.
And would Srila Prabhupada be considered one of those associates? So
Can you speak in the microphone?
Would Srila Prabhupada be considered one of those associates? So if we're following in his footsteps, would that not be sufficient?
If you've realized that Srila Prabhupada's form is his eternal form in Lord Chaitanya's pastime, but you're practicing here, so we follow Rupa Goswami. So we follow Rupa Goswami here as what? As a sadhaka, he's as a practitioner. And we also follow Rupa Manjari, so similarly in Vrindavan, in their that's called Siddha form. They're both Siddha, they're both perfect, but that's the terminology that's used. So similarly, is that Prabhupada's same form there or not? So if you have the realization, then that's fine. But if not, then you may have to select some other. For instance, we know that Lord Nityananda is. We know that the other associates, it's anyway, I forget Narottam's song. So he says the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are all his eternal associates. So following, wanting to serve like that, yes, that's fine. But then you have to be really clear on what Srila Prabhupada wanted you to do. Srila Prabhupada didn't just want you to go out on Harinam and chant Hare Krishna. Prabhupada did tell you to read his books, and Prabhupada did tell you to also, develop your devotion to Krishna. So that's also part of being Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's follower. But yes, Gaudiya Vaishnavas can have a direction of serving either one, the other, or both. In other words, either Krishna and Vrindavan, either Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Navadvip, or both. And that will depend again upon their natural awakening, their attraction, what is actually attracting them. It doesn't mean that it's like everyone is just automatically lumped in, that we automatically go in that direction. So here we see someone who wants to be follower of Mother Yashoda, so you can't say, well, you can't do that. You have to follow Lord Chaitanya and go to Navadvip. Is that okay?
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, you mentioned about the sadhya and the sadhana. In that process, this is a twofold question. So the first part is that in that process, where does the devotion, where does the service to Vaishnavas fit in that scene of the process? That's the first part. And the second part is that shooting for the stars, we start the process. How do we know that we are actually progressing?
Service to Vaishnavas is a constant feature of progress towards our goal, but the service to Vaishnavas will also change. There's so many different types of service that we may be doing, but ultimately we need to also be getting close to devotees. Kateyantashamam nitya tushyanti tra ramanti cha. So sometimes devotees, have friendly relationships or so on, but how often do they do Kateyantashamam nitya tushyanti cha ramanti cha, that they're actually talking about Krishna, Krishna's pastimes. Now I know that, for instance, there's some conferences that devotees do here. They went on Zoom during COVID and so on, but they were meetings where devotees met and they had specific study courses, Bhagavad Gita or reading other books together. And so as devotees mature, that becomes their Vaishnav Seva, because the best service you do to Vaishnavas is remind them about Krishna. And it should be nitya, so that it's a constant thing. And how do we know that we progress? We should be able to see that what are the symptoms of stages, and so therefore we know that we've left a previous stage behind and we've moved to another one. And of course the guidance of Vaishnavas and a spiritual master is what helps us. Are we qualified to move forward? There's a very nice Jaiva Dharma. Anyone read Jaiva Dharma of Bhaktivedanta Thakur? So, it's from beginning to end, Krishna consciousness. It's an extraordinary book. It has everything. This is when we're getting beyond the minimum of 4 and you get into the realm of unlimited Vaishnava literature. It's really our wealth. So there's that feature where this one devotee comes and he joins and he sits down in front of the senior Vaishnavas and he asks, can you all please tell me what stage am I at and how should I practice Krishna consciousness? So they say, all right, reveal your mind to us, tell us about your anarthas and this. And he speaks up and then they ask for the eldest Vaishnava to give his opinion and he says, what was he on the platform of anartha nivriti or something like that, nishta. So, yeah. But ruchi, getting a taste. How do we chant Hare Krishna? Struggling to stay awake. It becomes obvious when you're no longer struggling to stay awake and you've gone beyond that. When you're just trying to control your mind, but then it becomes obvious when you've gone beyond just trying to control your mind and you're really just listening to the holy name. And you can do that. I can do it for like 4 rounds straight. And now I can do it for 8 rounds. Now I can do it for actually my 16 rounds. I sit there for 2 hours and I just hear Krishna's name. And as I become very expert at that, naturally I start to think about Krishna's form. And when that also becomes very steady, then his qualities and then his pastimes and these things just they self-manifesting process of chanting Hare Krishna. There was some, anybody else? Oh, sir.
So number 13. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for the clear presentation of sadhya, sadhana. And I also, what struck me was the point of satyam and being happy with that. And this point keeps coming up for me is that being comfortable with discomfort. But I think what would be useful for me is understanding how to understand that maturely and how to, what does that look like? What does that manifest like in a constant way? Because it seems like in my life it's going intense periods of discomfort or intense periods, for example, in the Karthik month, I'm trying to do something, and then as soon as Karthik finishes, I let go of the reins on the horse. And how does one maintain that discomfort, or comfort with discomfort, almost?
I don't know that it's the issue of, we're not yogis or gyanis that we're looking for all kinds of more and more difficult austerities, but rather we're looking for deeper entrance into the same activities, which are specifically Shravanam Kirtanam, and that the end result actually manifests in Smaranam. In other words, if we're chanting nicely and we're reading nicely, then we will start to naturally be remembering Krishna. And the more that we're actually remembering Krishna, we get that taste, and it becomes a pleasurable thing to be moving forward. It's I don't know that it's a matter of discomfort. And Rupa Goswami writes in Nectar of Devotion that there are two reasons why attaining Krishna's mercy is difficult. He says, first is you have to have attachment. You have to be attached to Krishna, which means asakti. So, nishta, ruchi, asakti. One must be at the stage of asakti because that's the process of attaining love. Then you go to ecstatic devotion, and then you go to, that develops, and you go to loving devotion. So, in order to get there, you have to have attraction for Krishna. So, what does that look like? It's not a transcendental emotion, but you've reached a stage where you're more attached to Krishna than your children, your grandchildren, your possessions, your business, your car, and then what to speak of your mobile phone. And so Krishna is the most. So I have this regular. When I go in Krishna Valley, I go from my house and I go towards the temple. Then there's a home to my left that I always pass, and actually the lady there, she's the one who does all the housekeeping in the house that I'm staying. So ever since her boy, who's 10 years old now, was baby, I kept asking her, who do you love more? Sham, the boy's name is Sham. Sham or Sham? So she'd always look at me in a guilty way, and I keep asking that and I go past the house a lot. So I keep asking that, and it's still the Sham Das rather than the Sham. But so anyway, it has to be that, and then he says, and the other is that Krishna has to actually, you have to attract Krishna's attention, and he has to actually give you your mercy. So attain perfection, there's these two obstacles. One is you need to get, it's difficult for two reasons. You need to attain on your own, by your own effort, you need to attain this asakti, and then over and beyond this asakti, you have to get Krishna's mercy. And then he says, but Krishna is very reluctant to give his mercy and to give himself. So it takes a long time. He said it's not automatic that as soon as you get a Sakti, then Krishna's just there. Krishna rarely gives himself, so you really have to be patient. He's independent, because once he gives you his mercy, once you attain loving devotion, then you start to control Krishna. So that's what it's about. You can tie God down. And obviously Krishna doesn't, unless he's really, really sure that he's the only one. You know, in the Bible it says, God is a jealous God. So, Mamekam. So Krishna is very exclusive. He doesn't say, well, me too. He just says, Mamekam. He says, only me. But that only me, once you attain it, means it actually includes all of Krishna's eternal associates. For real. Here we have from the ladies, we had a question. I don't even know where the mic went to, or someone, lady over here, or go ahead, speak in it.
Hi.
That's it.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Swami, for your presence. I had a question because I'm quite a young or a new devotee, so it will hopefully will allow a dive into a deep topic. But I have been wondering, why is it that we're aspiring for specifically this rasa, or I don't know, this relationship that is going deeper into one experience, as you just described, versus, you know, I hear some other people, well, I hear people, there are many spiritualists who are saying, you know, this massive consciousness where you become aware of the whole universe, or they are attempting to be, you know, powerful in certain ways. So what is the significance actually of this aspiration that we have that is very specific?
You're talking about now about general spiritualists, not just Vaishnavas, right?
Exactly, like a comparison.
You'll see different religions have different goals. In fact, sometimes it's not even so clear what the goal is. And then they have processes which they recommend to get there. Vedic literature also sets out different goals for people with different qualifications in order to elevate them. It's just like a 6-year-old child only has the qualification to go to grade school, doesn't have, and what you learn in grade school is sort of quite academic. It becomes it's useful later on, so you have to learn how to count, and without counting you can't get into university, but it's very, very simple and very basic. So there's two alternatives for evaluating comparative religions. If you really want to compare, they use this word, they have university courses, comparative religions, but it's not really, they don't want to compare it, really compare it. There's one is that these are successive stages. So generally the idea that's given is that these are all parallel paths to the same goal. But the goals are completely different. The goals that are stated are not the same, so how can they be parallel? The other one is that they are actually successive gradations going from one to another. So when people don't really understand the supremacy of God, well, then it's good for them to understand the greatness or vastness of the universe, something else that at least goes beyond them. And ultimately, they're led to ask the question, well, where did it come from? And how did it come about? I don't know, does that answer your question? Sort of? Yes, it is another topic. So different religions sometimes, just define their goal. They talk about God, but their knowledge of God is different, to be general or to be kind. That it's not very specific. It's not very defined. Who and what are you talking about when you talk about God? This summer I had one Catholic bishop. I don't know what, I think so, what the English equivalent, come, and he's a young man, and very open, spent the whole day at the farm, looking around, seeing everything, asking questions, and he was very, very nice. And we had lunch together, and before lunch we spent an hour talking. He was curious about talking philosophy. So I asked him, I said, does God have a personality? And he said, well, of course, he must have a personality. I said, why? He says, well, because we're his creation and we're persons. So if the creation it has personality, then the creator must also have personality. I said, okay, that's good logic. Now, what about, does God have a form? I said, no. I said, but everything in the creation has form. So if I'm going by your logic that you just said, then it stands to reason that God also has a form. So he really balked at that. This was the same thing as what the Mayavadis say. Well, I don't really believe in it, but this is what I belong to. So it was a question of, okay, am I going to now go against my own faith, or do I just sort of brush it off? And that's what he did. He brushed it off. He says, well, this is really getting into deep philosophy. I said, well, I thought that's what we were doing here, talking about philosophy. So, but he didn't want to go that far, because it was leading him into, by his own logic, it was leading him to a whole place that went against his faith. In Hungary, there's this place called Panohalma, which is one of the first, what's it called? The place where seminaries. One of the first Catholic seminaries in Europe, and it's on top of this mountain, this big sort of palatial building, and twice I went to see I don't know who's above bishops, cardinals. Cardinal is above a bishop, or is it? Yeah. So anyway, there's 11 of them in Hungary, and he was a really, really nice man, and we talked for a couple of hours, and so we also came to this point of, is God a person with a form and qualities and activities and so on? And they said, no, God is impersonal. And I said, well, listen, let's be straight. Do you think, we've been here talking, and you keep saying how you like Krishna, you like Krishna consciousness. Do you think that you're the only way and we're wasting our time? And he said, "You won't be angry at me, will you?" I said, "No, just tell me what you think." So he said, "Yeah, you're wasting your time." So, which was at least they're honest. At least they're honest. Very, very nice. They have a sort of a very good appearance, very tolerant, really some real, tangible Christian values. Once again, we get stuck on "Thou shalt not kill," and but when it comes to the bottom line, they get stuck on certain things. But nivrittitarshe rupagiyamanat. But if you just continue with this bad habit of eating meat, you're not going to be able to really understand what God is. You won't be able to understand Bhagavad Dharma. And that becomes the common problem that we see. And comparative religion shouldn't be the general, just like yesterday I was driving with, or I wasn't driving, he was driving, Krishna Sanjay, and that, comparative religions, and we have interfaith groups and meetings, and we always, talk about what are the common features that just bind us all together, which there are, and there are many. But why not talk about the things that aren't common amongst us? Why not talk about the differences? And why not talk about why the differences are there? And why not, actually, if you want to talk about comparative religions, why don't we compare? Why don't we analyze? And this becomes the beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita was this: if you want to truly understand Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, then investigate it with your intelligence and compare it. Compare it to anything else. So this should be the process of real, honest inquiry, because honest inquiry only works when we recognize our place, and then we can move actually forward. But if everybody's at the top, then who's getting anywhere? So, it's obvious that to us that we may not be as individuals on the top, but we're very fortunate that we have somehow or another, we're all here by Prabhupada's mercy. That's the only thing, and by Prabhupada's willing to really go out of his comfort zone, leave Vrindavan alone, go to this foreign country, and associate with. You didn't. Who was part of or was involved in the hippie revolution? Not many. Anyway, I was. And, I was part of the civilized group of the hippie revolution because I went to university and so on. But I had many acquaintances. These people were really, really wild. They were wild, they had crazy habits. So they were actually real madmen. They were just such the antithesis of who Srila Prabhupada was. And some of Prabhupada's sort of earlier visitors who at least were sober, they, made this comment that here's this aristocratic, learned gentleman, how he moves and he walks and he talks is just so distinguished. What's he doing with these people? And then one newspaper reporter came in. What are your people doing here? His Prabhupada said, I don't know. They don't know either. But as long as they were willing to hear, Prabhupada was willing to just encourage them. And Now here we have this International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And how did this month of Karthik start out? Prabhupada told Shyamasundar Prabhu, carve Jagannath deities. They'd found the small ones, so make big ones, so he made big ones. No clothing, no garland in the beginning, and they just offering candles. They didn't know what they were doing either. But we should be knowing what we're doing. How long are we going to? Finished? We're finished. Okay, lovely. Well, we're finished. I'm here. Anyone wants to talk, or do we have to close the doors or something? No. Well, yeah, I got to go over there. I'll go over there where these books are. I guess they want me to talk about the books, but I won't. But if you want to know about them, then you can come over there yourself and see them. They may be of some interest to some devotees. Important books are Prabhupada's books, and then everything else is secondary. Thank you all very much, and Hare Krishna. We'll look forward to, I don't know, Sunday morning we'll give Chaitanya Charitamrita class, and Sunday evening we'll stop all this wasting time and talking and chant Hare Krishna. That's our business. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Shivara Gokulananda ki jai.
His Holiness Sivarama Swami Maharaj ki jai. 3 big Haribols, please. Haribol! 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 So as Maharaj did say, on the other side of the hall, just on that side, we have a collection of Maharaj's books. Please, these are treasures. So if you would like, you can get some, you can pre-order some, you can even speak to Maharaj on that side. On the other side, devotees, we do have prasad for everyone. So please, we request you to just make your way into the prasadam hall on the other side of the courtyard. Please do have some prasad before you leave. And as Maharaj also said, on Sunday morning, Maharaj will be giving the Chaitanya Charitamrita class. And in the afternoon, evening, in the Haveli again, we have the Sunday program and Kirtans till late. Hare Krishna. Thank you.